So I've introduced our first speaker then, and I asked people to say what they'd like us to say about them. And so Anne Harrison said this: still in recovery from having to give up congregational hymn singing because of the pandemic. Anne is fascinated by the words and the music of congregational song and enjoys a range of styles. Rosalind Brown, about whom she'll be speaking, is a friend of hers, and Anne hopes this morning to do justice to her gifts and raise awareness of her work. So Anne, we're over to you now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Janet, and thanks everyone for coming. It's possible that Rosalind Brown is here herself, but we'll probably find out later. I have posted in the chat the titles of the 5 hymns that I'm going to be talking about. Rosalind Brown was born in 1953 and has worked in the United States and in Salisbury, where she helped to train men and women for ordination. Since 2005, she's lived in Durham, initially as a residentiary canon at Durham Cathedral. Some of you will remember her from our Durham conference in 2010 and will know that she edited Durham Sings, and I'm going to try and wave this in front of my camera, Durham's contribution to English hymnody, published by the Friends of Durham Cathedral in 2009, which helpfully includes a section on how she began to write hymns. She's also the author of various other books, which may be of particular interest to us. This Grove booklet in the Spirituality series, How Hymns Shape Our Lives, was published in 2001 and written while she was working in Salisbury. And there's a new book of prayers published since Rosalind's retirement by Sacristy Press. I don't have a copy of that yet, but it's Prayers for Living, 500 Prayers for Public and Private Work. Add in a book about preaching, Can Words Express Our Wonder, written in 2009, and it becomes clear that here is someone who cares deeply about the words we use in worship. In this short session today, I hope to introduce you to some of the themes in her hymns, many of which have been written in response to a particular request, issue, or occasion. I plan to focus on what Rosalind wrote in that Grove booklet about hymns having a prophetic function. She spoke of the formational power of hymns, citing, for example, many written by John Bell of the Iona community, which address, and I quote, the challenge to bring the gospel and the culture together, their insistence that what we believe cannot be divorced from the way we live, end quote. Such hymns, she said, introduce a social aspect to holiness and commitment that's not often found in earlier hymns, insisting on the demands of the gospel and motivating worshippers to take action. One example is the hymn she wrote in 2008 for the After Sunday project, which challenged Christians to connect their faith with their daily work. When the BBC were to broadcast a service on Radio 4 on this theme from Durham Cathedral, Rosalind produced a hymn to be sung to the tune Woodlands, which I expect you'll know from Tell Out My Soul. I'm going to read the first and the last verses. Your challenge comes to serve you in the world, to trace your presence in life's daily round. Hear your clear call to come and follow you, and find in all our work your holy ground. Make us the prophets of your life and hope, the servant people of a world restored. Send us to live our daily life with joy, to go in peace, to love and serve you, Lord. You can find all 5 verses of Your Challenge Comes to Serve You in the World on the After Sunday website, as well as in the HymnQuest database, which has over 30 of Rosalind's texts. A more general hymn on the theme of discipleship and loving action dates from the early 1990s, when Rosalind was living and working in the United States. It was published in Wonder, Love and Praise, the 1997 supplement to the hymnal 1982 of the US Episcopal Church, as well as in Sing, New Words for Worship. I can wave that in front of you, which is a 2004 collection from Salisbury containing hymns by 3 writers, including Rosalind. The suggested tune for this hymn is Intercessor by Parry, and I'll read the first two verses. There are four altogether. You laid aside your rightful reputation and gave no heed to what the world might say, served as a slave and laid aside your garments to wash the feet of those who walked your way. You touched a leper, ate with those rejected, received the worship of a woman's tears. You shed the pride that keeps us from the freedom to love our neighbor, laying down our fears. And it goes on to pray that we'll be helped to follow and transformed by the love of Christ. Yes, I said that was in Wonder, Love and Praise, didn't I? And in Sing, the Salisbury collection. Rosalind has written several hymns on ecological themes, which are very topical at the moment, including When We Gasp in Awe and Wonder, which won second prize in a Methodist church competition for a hymn text on environmental issues in the wake of the 2001 foot and mouth epidemic. The author has said of her method, I aimed to write a text that alluded to the foot and mouth crisis, as the phrase cattle die, but to cast the net wider in terms of environmental concerns and to look beyond our national boundaries to the problems caused for poor people around the world, as another phrase, the poor despair, by our corporate exploitation of the natural world. I also wanted to celebrate the wonder and beauty of God's creation, but to acknowledge our complicity in the damage done to the natural world by our often careless or destructive ways of life. There's a line, when our living is not loving. That's the end of the quote there. It's in a common meter, but it works well with the Welsh tune Ebenezer in a minor key. I'm going to read the middle of the three verses. When hearts break in grief and sadness at our reckless lack of care, ravaged land, polluted cities, cattle die, the poor despair. When we ache as birdsong ceases, drought or floods cause suffering, challenge us to new approaches, healing, restoration bring. Another hymn Rosalind wrote in response to a competition a little earlier in 1997 is Let Justice Roll on Earth. The challenge here was to write a hymn on the theme of justice. Rosalind took inspiration from what she describes as the compelling words in Amos when the Lord rejects the people's sacrifices because they are at the expense of righteous living. Let justice roll down like waters, righteousness as an ever-flowing stream. End quote. She chose the tune Moscow for its sense of forward movement. Let justice roll on earth, bringing new hope to birth until wrongs cease. We who have known God's care now hear the call to dare to live out everywhere God's way of peace. If you're trying to sing and keep the lines going where there's no comma, you need quite a lot of breath. That's the first of four verses. I'd like to finish with a hymn by Rosalind, which Dick Watson quoted at the end of his recent occasional paper for the Hymn Society on hymnody and war. It's called Once We Had Dreams, Dreams of a New Beginning. And it was written in 2000 for the tune Finlandia. I'll read the whole thing to finish. Once we had dreams, dreams of a new beginning, when we had fought the war to end all war. A world of peace where people live in freedom. A world where justice reigns forevermore. And yet, each year as we remember, we know too well how subtly dreams can fade. In this our world where peace is often fragile, where war and hatred grip, where children die, too easily our hearts are dulled to suffering. Our ears are deafened to the hopeless cry. We fail to grasp the call to be peacemakers. We act in fear and let the vision fade. Still we need dreams. Oh God, make us your dreamers. Inflame our passion for a world made whole. A world where love extends to all a welcome, where justice like a powerful stream will roll. Come, Prince of Peace, our fading hope rekindle. Your kingdom come, we pray. Let peace be made. So I hope you can see just from those 5 short examples what I mean by the prophetic voice, which Rosalind has not only written about, but modelled in her hymns. Thank you.